Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to this special interview with Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak to Rwanda Television.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I'll get right to the issue at hand, Honorable Minister. I'm aware that Rwanda issued an announcement briefly explaining why this decision was made to pull out of the Economic Community of Central African States. But in your own words, can you elaborate further on why Rwanda made that decision yesterday?
Thank you very much. Indeed, yesterday evening, Rwanda withdrew from the Economic Community of Central African States, ECCAS, because one of the main topic on the agenda of the summit yesterday that took place in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, was the handover of the chairmanship from Equatorial Guinea to Rwanda, because the chairmanship is a right based on rotation of alphabetical order, French alphabetical order. So Angola is succeeded by Burundi, Burundi by Cameroon, and then it was the turn of Rwanda. But for some reason, the DRC introduced a complaint in the ministerial meeting that Rwanda should not chair the community because of its alleged aggression against the DRC. But this is against the treaty because the chairmanship is a right. And actually, from all countries, DRC should not be the one to accuse anyone, because even the current crisis, it's the DRC is at the origin of it, with the support to the FDLR genocidal force, with the use of mercenaries against international law, with the use of local militias, with numerous attacks against our territory in different periods in 2019, 2022, and even recently in end of January around the Battle of Goma, where the FRDC shelled on our territory, killing more than 16 people and wounding 160. So this is an issue, and the DRC should not be accusing any country about the crisis in Eastern DRC. But the fact that the Commission and the community of ECCAS accepted to be manipulated by a single country imposing its diktat, it's an issue. This is why we decided to pull out, to withdraw from ECCAS, because we cannot stay in a community that is no more working for the interest of its member state, that is working against the law, and its own law, actually its own treaty, and is working against its intended purpose of economic integration of the region.
Now, what happened yesterday was obviously, if I was to put it in a proverbial way, the final nail in the coffin. But what is clear is that these issues have persisted in ECCAS itself. How long have they been going on, these problems, if I can call them that, within the organization?
First of all, ECCAS has been a dysfunctional regional economic community, one of the less effective from all regional economic communities of the African Union. We have issues of integration, of infrastructure, of governance. We have a president of the commission who doesn't act together with other commissioners. We have issues of audit since 2020. We never had any audit of the use of our money, the money of a member state. There is issues of contributions from member states. Actually, in 2022, 2023, the DRC chaired ECCAS while they had many years of arrears in contributions, and actually they used this chairmanship in a way that counters the treaty, because they prevented Rwanda to speak in a summit held in Kinshasa. So there was been an issue, a general issue of effectiveness or governance in ECCAS, but now this last issue of Congo dictating that a member state cannot exercise his treaty-given right was now the last nail in the coffin, as you say.
No, the straw that broke the camel's back. That was it for Rwanda, basically.
That was it for Rwanda.
So what is next now, after this decision? for the country?
Next, we have withdrawn from this community. We'll write officially tomorrow to the ECCAS Secretariat, ECCAS Commission based on ECCAS treaty. So we'll remain in other regional economic communities, mainly East African Community and COMESA. And as far as the conflict in Eastern DRC is concerned, we'll continue the current processes we are engaged in with DRC, mainly the ECCAS process, Washington and Doha talks. As a matter of fact, it's strange and even unacceptable to see that while we are on the path of peace with talks with the DRC at different levels. You remember that there was a meeting between President Tshisekedi and President Kagame in Doha on 18th of March. I met Minister Kaikwamba in Washington 25th of April to sign a declaration of principles, and then we are now engaged in negotiations for a peace agreement that will be signed at the White House. So while we are doing all of that DRC is now going around in regional and international organizations accusing Rwanda, calling for sanctions against our country is unacceptable. And it's really strange to see that we are dealing with a country or with government that is not principled, that seems not to want genuine peace.
Well, unfortunately, I've ceased to be surprised by the DRC, but that's another matter. We'll come back to the regional processes for peace and so on. But now there's the question of bilateral relations with the individual countries that remain within ECCAS. Do you foresee any problems for Rwanda when it comes to that front?
We will continue our relations with the countries, or those individual countries, members of ECCAS. Of course, the summit of yesterday was not, I would say, a good summit for integration, and also for the relations between countries of the region. But we will do our best to continue our relations. But of course, what happened in Malabo was not only against the treaty, but also against good relations in our region.
Well, now back to the issue of the efforts by Qatar and the US. How is that progressing in general?
For the Washington talks, I was saying that we signed the Declaration of Principles on 25th of April. Following that, we are engaged with Congo and also the DRC in negotiations for a larger peace agreement that will be signed at the White House. So we are now in the process of negotiating an agreement. There is also the African process of the ECCAS, the mediator who was mandated by the African Union, President Fonya Simbe of Togo, is now consulting in the region, and we hope that also this process will also advance and progress. And there are the Doha talks, mainly between the FCM23 and the government, which were somehow stalled. But we hope that also that common sense will come back, and then the parties will continue the negotiations and reach an agreement.
Clearly, Rwanda is not deterred by the behavior of the DRC in respect to its efforts to bring about peace in the region. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we conclude this interview, Minister?
What I would say that it's sad and unfortunate to see a community of 11 member states being manipulated by a single country, DRC, imposing its diktat, while it's a country that has been itself actually violating the treaty because it was supporting a genocidal force and violating our territory at several occasions. So it's really sad to see the downfall of such a community which has already many problems of governance and integration, now adding to that issue of being manipulated by a single country. So it's really sad, and we hope that member state of ECCAS will eventually understand that they are not on a good path.